News that is set to impact every South African consumer and business. The fuel levy increase has officially come into effect today. This comes after the Western Cape High Court yesterday dismissed the EFF's urgent bid to halt the increase. The EFF had argued that the Finance Minister, Inokotonwana, overstepped Parliament's powers by announcing the levy hike, contending that it was a new tax requiring legislative approval through a money bill. However, the Minister of Finance, Kotongwane, defended his decision in court, asserting that it is not a new tax, but rather a regulatory charge that he is empowered to implement under the existing legislation. To unpack what this means for the road freight industry, which moves an estimated 85% of South Africa's goods, and ultimately for you and I and our pockets, we are now joined by the CEO of the Road Freight Association, Gavin Kelly. Gavin, a very good morning to you. Thank you so much for making time for us this morning. What does this increase mean for the Road Freight Association and essentially the end user as well?
Well, good morning, Aldrin, and good morning to all your viewers on this nice, crisp Gauteng morning. Every time the fuel price goes up, it means that transporters across the country need to raise their rates, the prices that they charge in terms of moving goods around the country, whether we like it or not. If you and I had a business and we were selling something, and let's say we were making shoes, for example, and we use leather to make shoes, and we charge an amount for the finished product, the shoe, and the person who supplies me the leather increases the price of that leather that I use, I have no choice as a shoemaker other than to increase the price of shoes. So too in the transport industry, when the price of fuel goes up, I have to charge more, or the transporter has to charge more for the transport they're doing, which means that you and I as the consumer right at the end of that downstream line of transport and logistics will start paying more for those products that we normally buy every day.
Yeah, and normally what would the factors be that are taken into consideration when you think about what it means for the bottom line as well as your expenditure? Because sure, on one end, we're solely focusing, for instance, on the fuel, but the fuel has an impact on any other issue or any other aspect that is being transported.
Absolutely, Aldrin. So it isn't just the transport leg from a distribution center or a warehouse to the retail store. Many goods along the process of being grown or mined or manufactured have some sort of fuel, diesel or petrol, input into them in terms of, for example, running generators or running cooling plants or running picking machines or whatever the case may be. So when the price of fuel is increased, there's all these little aspects along the line of that product as it is grown or created or refrigerated or brought to you packed, whatever the case may be, that impact. So there's this sort of rolling impact along the whole line. It isn't just that transport leg to get it to you where you want to purchase it.
Yeah, this has been a conversation that has been had before, Gavin, and I want to bring it back, and that is around whether we need reforms in South Africa when it comes to the fuel pricing in the country, taking into consideration the number of levies that we have on a litre of petrol, and compare that to our neighbouring countries like Botswana and Namibia as an example.
It goes to the basis of how our government or the Department of Revenue or Treasury finds revenue to look or to deal with the costs of government. And using the fuel levy is one of, some people will argue, the easiest methods of doing that. It's a very large, wide base of purchase into fuel. And if you can put a couple of cents, although for us it isn't a couple of cents anymore, but if you can put a couple of cents into the fuel price, you then spread the so-called base on which you tax. But the problem is, and this is what the RFA has been saying, is that this becomes a very easy lever or process for government to just go and find funds that they can't raise anywhere else. And the real issue here is that government needs to cut its spending, not just find easier avenues to generate revenue.
Yeah, and cutting those spending, also dealing with institutions where there are leaks. One of the biggest beneficiaries of a fuel levy is the Road Accident Fund, which currently the CEO has now been put on suspension. Speak to us about that element as well.
Well, another very good case in point is that what you want to do is to ensure that the monies that you do take out of any sort of levy, like the fuel levy, are properly spent. So you must make sure that, first of all, there isn't corruption, there isn't wasteful expenditure, and that the benefit accrued by those who pay the tax, and here we're talking about the whole country, that the benefit accrued in actual fact is a tangible benefit. There's been a lot of debate around the road accident fund and whether we should go back to a third-party disc. I don't know how old you are, but I recall having 2 discs on a windscreen when you would buy this third-party insurance. And that was run by a number of the large insurance companies in the country. So we have to make sure that the leaks that are happening at any sort of level of government, whether they're state-owned entities or whatever they may be, are patched, fixed, and that they can't continuously have this, well, we're a couple of billion short, we'll just go find it either on a bread tax or a fuel tax or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, and just finally as well, fuel refineries in South Africa, do you think that that could cushion the blow for the end user?
I lost that question, Aldrin. You were saying fuel refineries in South Africa could cushion that blow?
Establishing more fuel refineries in South Africa, could that cushion the blow for the end user?
That's a very good question. So first of all, there's the big question as to who's going to pay for it. The fuel majors, I think, are rather reluctant to do that, given that the world is moving away rather slowly at this stage, but it is moving away from fossil fuels. So we've got the EVs, electric vehicles, we've got hydrogen, etc. So that's the first question. Yes, we do buy finished product at a far larger volume than we used to do. So it could cushion the blow, but it's really going to be a case of how that cost is recouped. And obviously the oil majors would want to have that in the fuel price.
All right. So thank you so much for your time. Gavin Kelly is the CEO of the Road Freight Association, ahead of that fuel price increase that is taking effect at midnight. That is 15 cents per litre of petrol, and then 15 cents per litre of diesel, rather, and 16 cents per litre of petrol. That brings us to the end of the chat. Let's look at the weather forecast. We continue with the AM report at the top of the hour.